The controversy surrounding Victor Cha no longer being a valid nominee for ambassador to South Korea rages on. Some fear the move could mean the Trump administration is considering risky military options against North Korea. Seoul and Washington have been making efforts to dampen any such concerns. Kwon Jang-ho delves deeper into the issue.
The White House has distanced itself from Victor Cha, an academic and former advisor to ex-President George W. Bush, and who was anticipated to head the U.S. Embassy in Seoul. In a press briefing on Thursday, State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert stressed that Cha had never actually received an official nomination from President Trump, and that the media went ahead with the assumption that he would be appointed the next ambassador to South Korea. She also stressed that Washington's policy on North Korea remains the same, and that denuclearization of the Korean peninsula through diplomacy was the ultimate goal. The statement came in response to the bloody nose option that Trump officials were said to be considering, as described by Cha in a recent op-ed in the Washington Post. Bloody nose refers to a preventive military strike on North Korea to shock the regime into appreciating U.S. strength, or in other words, give Kim Jong-un a bloody nose. Cha said he voiced his opposition to the White House, but the sudden withdrawal of Cha from consideration for ambassador has led to speculation that the Trump administration was not only dissatisfied with Cha's stance on the policy, but also considering the bloody nose option much more seriously than previously thought. However, a South Korean diplomatic source told reporters on Friday that the withdrawal was not because of Cha's opposition to military options against North Korea, and that this is supported by credible information. The official, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, added that several other factors contributed to the decision, and while military action is not off the table, is not considered a feasible option at this current time. North Korea watchers in Seoul also agree on this possibility.
The U.S. is perceiving the completion of North Korean ICBM as a kind of red line. If that happens, the U.S. territory would be threatened. Maybe U.S. would use some kinds of military options, but I think that will be only for the worst case. And until then, I think the majority of U.S. policy would be sanctions and pressure.
The South Korean government has been reluctant to comment on Cha's situation, as it's a White House internal affair. But with the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics just around the corner and North Korea participating in the Games, the reasons behind Washington's withdrawal of Cha as the next envoy to Seoul seems to be gathering unwanted and untimely attention. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.